Well, we are able to now bring in the Shadow Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, who joins us from Dover. Shadow Home Secretary, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
I wanted to get to your trail for today and the small boat crossings in a moment, but first, your reaction to the GDP data?
Well, I think the government seems to think we should be grateful for the fact that we are no longer in recession and have low growth instead. I think this still reflects the fact that working people are still worse off than they were 14 years ago, that mortgages, people are still paying more on their mortgages, prices are still much higher, and actually people are feeling really squeezed. So the idea really of the Conservatives trying to do a victory lap on all of this and expecting everybody to think it's all wonderful and we've never had it so good, I think just shows how out of touch they are. We need a proper plan to properly boost growth right across the country, and that's what Labour is setting out.
Do you think the economic argument ahead of the next general election is already won for your party or not?
We'll continue to make all of the arguments. We need to boost growth. We need to get growth back on track. That means you need to get stability. You need to also get the investment. We need to have that partnership with business, a proper industrial strategy, the proper support, the apprenticeships we need right across the country, the training, the investment in clean energy and in the new technologies that we need for the future. That's really important, and Labour has this plan to work closely with businesses, with industry across the country to do that. I just think we've had 14 years of low growth, of chaos and of working people as well losing out most, and we just can't carry on with that.
Let's touch on the small boats issue and illegal immigration. What are you announcing today?
So we know that the dangerous boat crossings are undermining border security and putting lives at risk. That's why Labour's today setting out proposals for a new border security command that can recruit hundreds, if not up to 1,000 new specialist investigators, cross-border police that would have new counter-terror style powers and be able to work with other European countries and Europol to be able to go after the criminal gangs, to smash the criminal gang networks that are doing so much damage. Really, the Conservatives' gimmicks approach hasn't worked, and that's why what we need instead is a proper, serious grip.
You mentioned the word gimmicks, referring, I think, to the Rwanda plan, and your press release earlier also used that word. New border security commander, it sounds a bit gimmicky.
Well, our approach is based on the serious work that was done after 9/11 and after the 7/7 bombings in London to develop a new approach to dealing with counter-terror. And that approach was a proper command structure and operational structure and strategy that pulled together the National Crime Agency, the MI5, or it was the predecessor to the National Crime Agency, MI5, the police, counter-terror network organisations to properly go after the terror gangs and networks in the UK. That's proved to be a very effective set of operations and organisation. And that's why we've talked to national security experts, to some of those counter-terror experts about what they did. And now we need to replicate that for border security, because we've had a series of really damning reports about how fragmented the UK's approach is to border security. Lots of different organisations not properly working together, no proper effective leadership. We need to learn from what worked in the past and now apply that to our border security, because the threat is so serious when you've got young lives being lost, when you've got the border security being undermined. And it's significant that Neil Basu, who was the counter-terror chief for many years, counter-terror police chief for many years, has endorsed our plans and said, look, this is the right approach to dealing with these criminal gang networks that are making profit from putting lives at risk.
I guess some might say that small boat crossings is quite different from the issues of 9/11 and 7/7, but I hear your point in terms of centralising things. Clearly, Rishi Sunak has failed to stop the boats, which was his target and pledge. What is your target over 5 years in a Labour government? To stop the boats over that period of time? To halve the boats?
I think everybody wants to stop these dangerous boat crossings. The impact this has both on border security but also on the threat to life, as we saw with a little 8-year-old girl being killed a few weeks ago. And here in Dover, where I'm speaking now, they've obviously seen the consequences as well of the boats arriving and really this undermining the way we should be operating border security. So, of course, I think everybody should want to stop the dangerous boat crossings. We need to make sure, though, we've got a comprehensive plan to do that. Having the Rwanda plan, which is just going to cover a few hundred asylum seekers and not do anything, about 99% of asylum seekers, and not do anything to touch the sides on the criminal gang networks, that is not going to address the real problem driving this and the way that the boat crossings are being organised.
So you want to stop the boats in full over 5 years? What's your expectation? What's the realistic target?
Well, Rishi Sunak obviously said he was going to stop all boat crossings in a year. Priti Patel, I think, at one point said she was going to do so in 6 months. And obviously, I think we've seen, I think people get really frustrated with the way that the Conservatives have just really gone for headlines rather than having practical plans. The approach we're taking is to say, look, everybody should be wanting to end these boat crossings, and therefore, what are we going to do about it to try and make that happen? What are we going to do to have those new counter-terror powers in place for the Border Security Command? That's important as well. That would give them the powers to go after the financial networks, to get financial disclosure orders in place, stop and seizure powers as well, stop and search powers at the border, stronger powers to be able to go after the gang networks, because that's what you need. It's those practical proposals and the security information sharing with other European countries as well.
So, forgive me for labouring, but do you have a target that you'll mark yourself against over 5 years?
Well, sadly, we don't know what the state of things is going to be by the time we get to the election and what we will inherit from the Conservatives. We've seen boat crossings go up again this spring. I think it's about 9,000 this year. So we don't know what the situation that is that we'll inherit, but we are clear that we want to end dangerous boat crossings, and we hope everybody would feel that way, and everybody should be seeing that as something we should all be working hard to try and prevent those crossings happening in the first place. Oh, and one of the other things that means working to do is to go after the supply chains, so you prevent boats reaching the French coast in the first place, because it's those supply chains that are also part of that criminal industry that's been set up along our borders.
Shadow Home Secretary, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.